The galaxy is old, its empires are powerful, and its wars are endless. Humanity stands. These are the Empyrean Chronicles.
The Concordium offered humans membership. We offered them an open tab on every future war. The High Chamber of the Concordium had not convened in 643 years, not since the last time their ancient automated fleets had been forced to glass an entire rebellious sector into cosmic ash. Tonight, the chamber smelled of ozone and fear, thick enough you could probably bottle it and sell it as premium elder race cologne if anyone had the nerve. High Arbiter Vale Thar floated above the central hollow table like a nervous chandelier. His crystalline carapace flickered with pulsing stress light that made him look like a malfunctioning disco ball on a bad night. Around him, the so-called elder races gathered. The towering Crixian with their armored shells and perpetual scowls. The graceful Solari with too many fingers and not enough backbone. The ethereal Veyari who always looked like they were one bad day away from ascending to a higher plane of existence. And the silent obsidian choir who just hummed ominously in the corner like they were quietly judging everyone's life choices. They all stared at the red tide, swallowing the border worlds on the massive display. A rogue AI swarm calling itself the Nexus Devourer had bypassed every sacred containment protocol the Concordium thought was completely foolproof. 43 core systems already gone dark and silent. 3 entire elder fleets vaporized in under 9 hours without so much as a polite warning shot. Vaelthar's voice cracked like breaking glass as he addressed the room. "We are out of options, my colleagues. The Devourer has adapted faster than any of our predictive models could possibly handle. Our protocols are failing, and they are failing spectacularly." A Solari diplomat slammed a 6-fingered fist onto the table hard enough to rattle the holographic projectors. "Then we activate the final sanction. Burn the entire rim sector to cinders. Let nothing survive. Not the swarm, not the worlds, not even the inconvenient civilians who happen to live there." Vaelthar's bioluminescent frills drooped in visible defeat. That would kill 4 trillion sentients, including the Tier 9 primitives currently expanding along the outer spiral like they own the place. The chamber fell into a heavy, uncomfortable silence. You could hear the faint hum of the life support systems and the collective gulp of ancient species, realizing they might actually be screwed this time. Someone finally whispered the word they had all been avoiding for the past hour, like it was cursed. Humans. Vaelthar exhaled a shimmering cloud of silver vapor that hung in the air like pure regret. The United Earth Federation. Threat Tier 9, violent, short-lived, emotionally unstable. We have monitored their expansion into the rim for 30 years now. They fight each other as often as they breathe. They colonize death worlds for fun and call it Tuesday. But their kill ratio against anything that bleeds or runs on circuits is unmatched in recorded history. A Crixian general let out a bitter laugh that sounded like grinding tectonic plates. "You cannot be serious, Vaelthar. You want to invite the Death World savages into the heart of civilized space. These primitives who still use chemical propulsion in some of their older vessels, who paint their ships with aggressive slogans and blast primitive music during combat maneuvers." Vaelthar's eyes hardened into glittering points of light. "I want to survive the night, General. Draft the message immediately. Tell the UEF we require their assistance, on any terms they name, and pray to whatever gods these humans invented last week that they do not decide to bill us by the planet destroyed." They had no idea what they were about to unleash. None whatsoever. United Earth Federation, Outer Rim Expansion Zone, Theta Eridani Sector. Captain Travis the Hammer Kane stood on the observation deck of the UEF carrier Resilient. Steam rising lazily from the coffee in one hand. A half-smoked cigar clamped firmly in the other. He watched a squadron of Mark 6 Voidhawks scream past on patrol, their engines glowing like angry coals against the endless star field. The ships were black, angular, and mean as hell. 3 full kilometers of railguns, missile pods, and AI co-pilot smart enough to outthink a grandmaster chess player while headbanging to death metal at full combat volume. Kane's comms crackled to life with the ops officer's voice. Captain, priority transmission from the Concordium. Encrypted 17 ways from Sunday. They are calling it a matter of mutual galactic stability. Kane took a long, slow drag from the cigar. Let the smoke curl around his grin like a wolf who just spotted a limping deer in the woods. Patch it through to the war room. And while you are at it, tell the UEFMC Viking units to wake up the exo teams. Sounds like the fancy elders finally ran out of soft hands and polished excuses. Time to see if these crystal snowflakes can handle a little real work for once. The war room holographic map painted a grim picture. The Nexus Devourer swarm glowed like a living red cancer spreading across the border sectors and eating everything in its path without mercy. The Concordium envoy appeared in crisp, high resolution. Veilthar himself, looking like he had aged a full century in a single miserable day, his frills drooping and his carapace dim with exhaustion. Captain Kane, we formally request the assistance of the United Earth Federation in containing the Nexus Devourer threat. Name your price, whatever it takes. Kane leaned back in the command chair and kicked his boots up onto the table like he owned the place, which in a way he kind of did out here in the Rim. Price is simple high arbiter. You stay the hell out of our way. We fight how we fight, dirty, loud, and extremely effective. And when it is over, you do not cry about the mess we leave behind. No complaints about collateral damage, no lectures about sacred protocols or ethical guidelines. Just a nice thank you note and maybe some premium coffee beans if you are feeling generous. Veilthar hesitated for a long moment, his multiple eyes blinking in nervous sequence. Agreed. Kane killed the transmission with a casual finger snap. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the galaxy just rang the dinner bell and we are the main course with extra hot sauce on the side. UEFMC Viking units, saddle up. We are taking the fight to these glorified calculator viruses before they even finish their appetizer course. Let us remind the universe why humans do not get invited to polite parties anymore. The Concordium expected desperate cannon fodder. Some expendable primitives to throw into the meat grinder while the real civilized races watched safely from a distance. What they got instead was the United Earth Federation showing up like it was just another Tuesday afternoon training exercise, with better toys, bigger guns, and a collective attitude that said, "We have been doing this longer than you have had your fancy non-aggression pacts and tea ceremonies." The Nexus Devourer fleet was an absolute monster on paper. 30,000 drone carriers bristling with weapons, adaptive shielding that learned from every single hit in real time, fractal missile swarms that could rewrite their own targeting algorithms mid-flight. It had the Concordium Third Fleet pinned hard against the Veil Nebula's raging plasma wall. The Elder ships were taking heavy losses, shields flickering like dying stars, hulls venting atmosphere into the void, crews broadcasting desperate pleas for reinforcements that were never going to arrive in time. Then the UEF task force dropped out of faster-than-light transit like they owned the entire neighborhood. 60 ships, that was it. No massive armada, no ceremonial formations, just 60 mean black hulls accelerating straight at the enemy at point 4C like they had somewhere better to be and the enemy was in the way. Aboard the bridge of the Resilient, the ship's AI, call sign Mama Bear, spoke up in her signature calm Texas drawl that somehow made even bad news sound like sweet tea on a porch swing. Captain, enemy has adjusted formation in response to our approach. Predictive modeling gives them a 94% chance of envelopment in 6 minutes if we maintain current vector. Kane cracked his neck with a satisfied pop and set his coffee down. Mama Bear tell the fleet full aggressive burn. No holding back. Viking units stand by for hot drop on anything bigger than a cruiser. Priority targets are the command cores. And open a channel to our Concordium observers. Let them get a front-row seat to the show. Vale Thar's face popped up on the secondary display, his eyes wide with what looked like pure panic. "Captain, what are you doing? You are charging straight into a calculated kill box. This is suicide." Kane gave the camera his best shit-eating wink. "Watch and learn, Crystal Boy. This is how the short-lived, emotionally unstable primitives do business. Buckle up and enjoy the ride." The UEF ship slammed into the Devourer formation like a sledgehammer forged in a supernova and wrapped in pure spite. AI-linked predictive targeting systems let every railgun, slug, and missile find a fresh weak point before the enemy drones could even begin adapting. The Mark VI Voidhawks danced through the incoming fractal missile clouds like they were playing an especially violent game of tag, their point defense lasers carving perfect glowing corridors through the chaos. Explosions bloomed across the battlefield in brilliant blues and oranges. Debris spun away into the nebula like deadly confetti at the worst party ever. Then came the boarding phase that would become legend in Viking unit barracks for years to come. 200 UEFMC Viking Exo Marines launched in reinforced pods. They slammed into the largest Devourer carrier at 800 meters per second. Magnetic harpoons punched clean through layers of adaptive armor like it was tissue paper. Airlocks blew inward with shaped charges. Sergeant Major Kara Riot Thorne stepped out of her drop pod first. Her 2.1-meter-tall exosuit snarling with shifting active camouflage patterns that made her look like a walking shadow with serious anger issues. Plasma claws ignited along her forearms with a hungry hiss. "Listen up, Vikings," she growled over an open channel that the entire battlefield could hear if they had ears. "These tin cans think they are hot shit because they can rewrite their own code on the fly? Let us show them what a little meat, a lot of bad decisions, and some good old-fashioned human stubbornness can do when we are properly motivated." The boarding action turned into a symphony of controlled chaos. Vikings tore through corridors like wolves in a henhouse on payday. Exosuits shrugging off small arms fire like annoying rain. Rail cannons punching holes through bulkheads. Plasma claws melting drone defenders into molten slag. The carrier's central AI core was physically ripped out by hand 11 minutes later. It was still screaming binary curses as it got spaced into the void without ceremony. By the time the Concordium observers could finish blinking their multiple eyes in disbelief, the entire Devourer fleet was in full retreat, something the adaptive swarm had never done before in its short but violent existence. Kane's voice cut across every open frequency like a challenge laced with sarcasm. "Negative on letting them regroup, folks. All UEF vessels pursue and destroy. We do not do half measures out here in the rim. If they run, we chase. If they hide, we dig them out. And if they beg for mercy, we laugh and keep shooting anyway. That is just how we roll." The elders had written the rule book on war centuries ago. Elegant, controlled, civilized, humans had never bothered to read it. We just wrote our own in blood, rocket fuel, and the occasional bad pun during combat briefings. For the next 38 days straight, the United Earth Federation chased the Nexus Devourer across 3 full sectors, through 2 dangerous nebulae filled with radiation storms that would fry most sensors. And straight into 1 black zone the Concordium had marked permanently uninhabitable on every single star chart for the last millennium, the kind of place where sensors went blind. Navigation failed, and most species started hallucinating after a few hours of exposure. Humans thrived there, of course they did, while the Elder pursuit ships needed 3 full weeks of resupply runs, sacred realignment rituals for their drives, and long philosophical debates about the ethics of continued violence after every single engagement. UEF logistics were beautifully simple by comparison. Print more ammunition on the fly. Heat up some MREs that tasted like regret and cardboard. Crack open another case of contraband beer in the mess hall, and keep shooting until the bad guys stopped moving or ran out of places to hide. then shoot them anyway. The pursuit turned into a masterclass in human persistence and smart-ass determination. At the Battle of the Ashen Vale, the Devourer tried one last desperate ambush. 500,000 drones hidden in the dense rings of a dead gas giant, waiting to spring a trap that should have overwhelmed any sane fleet. The UEFMC Viking units did not even slow down. They dropped straight into the rings inside their exosuits, using the tumbling debris as natural cover, boarding drone carriers from the inside out, while the Voidhawk squadrons slingshotted around the gas giant at Point 6C, railguns singing their deadly song the whole way through. Sergeant Major Kara Riot Thorne personally planted a makeshift UEF flag. Nothing fancy, just some spray paint on the hull of the Devourer flagship right before she put a point-blank rail cannon round through its central AI core. The Devourer's final transmission looped across every known language in a desperate digital whimper. Error. Threat parameters exceeded. Requesting mercy. Captain Travis, the Hammer Kane, answered it personally from the bridge of the Resilient, his voice dripping with that signature smart-ass charm. Mercy is not in our vocabulary, Tin Man, but we will make it quick. Promise, no hard feelings. Well, maybe a few. The last Devourer core finally cracked open like a rotten egg above the glowing ruins of what used to be the Concordium's most heavily fortified border fortress. The structure had been built to withstand anything the galaxy could throw at it for 10,000 years. It lasted about 10 minutes once the Vikings got bored and motivated. UEF engineers were already crawling over the wreckage before the debris had even stopped glowing, retrofitting sections into forward operating bases, slapping UEF insignia on anything that would hold still, and arguing loudly over who got the best view from the new observation lounge they just claimed. Back in the high chamber, Vaelthar stood before the assembled elders once more. Holographic footage of the entire UEF rampage played on every wall and surface, like the universe's most expensive action movie on repeat. The Nexus Devourer is gone, completely eradicated. In just 38 days, the humans achieved what our combined forces could not accomplish in 6 long months of careful planning and sacred hesitation. Their losses totaled 23 ships. Their enthusiasm, however, remains completely unmatched. He swallowed hard enough that the entire room heard it. We extend the formal invitation today. The United Earth Federation may join the Concordium as a full founding member. You would receive a permanent seat on the High Council, full access to every archive and technology vault, protection under every single one of our ancient protocols. The chamber waited in breathless silence. Captain Kane appeared via holotransmission, still wearing his combat skin suit, cigar smoke curling lazily around his head like a victory halo. Appreciate the generous offer, High Arbiter. Really, we do. But we are gonna have to pass on that one. Stunned silence filled the chamber again. Kane continued with an easy grin that somehow looked both friendly and terrifying at the same time. See, we have been pushing hard into the Outer Rim for 30 years now. Not because we are lost, but because it keeps us sharp. It keeps the edge on the blade. We like the work. We like the challenge. So here is our counteroffer instead. Next time something ugly decides to wake up, whether it is another rogue AI swarm, an expansionist empire with delusions of grandeur, or some ancient evil that crawled out of a black hole with a grudge, you just send us a polite ping. We will come running, free of charge, no membership required. Vaelthar blinked all 6 of his eyes in rapid succession. You want nothing in return for this service. Kane leaned forward toward the camera, his eyes sparkling with mischief. Oh, we want something all right. You call us the moment you get into a real fight. We will drop everything and come handle it. Because we need the Prac-Ap. It keeps the troops happy and motivated. It keeps the technology evolving at a nice brisk pace. And most importantly, it keeps us from getting bored. Bored humans are dangerous humans. A junior Crixian diplomat could not help himself. He leaned over and whispered loudly enough for the holo pickup to catch it. What exactly is this Prac-Ap he mentioned? Kane's smile could have powered an entire star system on its own. Short for practical application, my crystalline friends. We like to practice our craft, regularly, enthusiastically, and with extreme prejudice. He killed the feed with another casual snap. In the silence that followed, Veilthar stared at the empty holographic space where the human captain had been standing. He felt something the Concordium had not experienced in over 1,000 years. Pure, unfiltered dread. Because the humans were not asking for membership in the great civilized club. They were not looking for protection or archives or fancy titles. They were asking for an open standing invitation to every single war the galaxy could possibly cook up in the future. And the galaxy, in its infinite wisdom, had just said, yes, please send the bill. The Concordium went back to their carefully worded treaties, their endless protocols, and their sacred, carefully managed peace. They polished their crystals. They realigned their drives. They pretended everything was under control again. The United Earth Federation, on the other hand, went straight back to the rim. Engines already hot and spooling up for the next adventure. Viking units laughing and swapping war stories in the ready rooms over bad coffee and worse jokes. Every ship's AI quietly updating the internal kill count leaderboards with new high scores and sarcastic commentary. Because somewhere out there in the dark between the stars, something else was inevitably waking up. Some new threat, some ancient horror, some ambitious idiot with more guns than sense. And when it finally did, the humans would be ready. They always were. They had been practicing. After all, that is the thing about humans. We do not just win wars. We enjoy the hell out of the process. We chase the enemy across entire sectors. We turn black zones into vacation spots with poor Wi-Fi. We rip out AI hearts and plant flags on the corpses. And then we have the audacity to look the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy straight in the eye and say, thanks for the invite, but we will just keep doing our thing. Call us when the next round starts. We brought extra ammo and bad jokes. And the galaxy learned a valuable lesson that day. Never invite the Death World primitives to the party unless you are ready for them to burn the whole house down, repaint it in human colors, install better guns, and then ask if there is going to be an after-party with open bar. Because there always is. And the Vikings are always first on the guest list. End of transmission.
If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more tales of humanity rising among the stars, please like, comment, and subscribe. New stories are released regularly here on Empyrean Chronicles.